What started as a romantic 10th wedding anniversary quickly spiraled into chaos when an uninvited guest showed up and openly flirted with my husband. As her behavior crossed the line, tension filled the room, and the real drama unfolded after the party. Our 10th wedding anniversary was supposed to be a small, intimate celebration at our home. My husband Tom and I had planned a cozy evening with close family and friends. We wanted to keep things simple: good food, some music, and the warmth of our loved ones. Everything seemed perfect, at least at first. Then out of nowhere, Lisa, my sister-in-law's friend, showed up. She wasn't on the guest list, and we hadn't seen her in a while, so her arrival threw me off. Lisa had always been a bit too friendly with Tom, but I'd never thought much of it. I mean, you don't want to be the paranoid wife who reads too much into things, right? But the moment Lisa walked through our door, I got this weird feeling. She didn't greet me properly. Instead, she shot me this half-smirk and made a beeline straight for Tom. He was welcoming our guests, smiling and chatting, and Lisa just slid right into his space, laughing a bit too loud at his jokes. I tried not to let it bother me. I wanted to enjoy the evening and focus on celebrating our relationship. But as the night went on, I couldn't help but notice that Lisa was always close by. She'd position herself next to Tom whenever I looked away. She'd find excuses to touch his arm or lean in closer than necessary. It was uncomfortable to watch, and it started to put a damper on my mood. At one point, I heard her ask Tom if he wanted to go outside to get some fresh air. Tom, ever the polite guy, just smiled and said he was fine. But I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't fine. He was starting to feel cornered. That's when I knew this wasn't just in my head. Lisa was crossing a line, and I wasn't sure what to do about it. As the party continued, Lisa's behavior only got worse. She was no longer just hanging around Tom. She was straight up pursuing him. She kept trying to pull him onto the dance floor, even when he clearly wasn't interested. She offered to help him with the cleanup, insisting on staying behind when most guests had left. I was trying to stay calm, but it felt like I was in some kind of bad dream. I didn't want to make a scene, but every nerve in my body was telling me to do something. Still, I held back. I knew Tom. I knew he would handle it. And he did. When Lisa started making snarky comments about our marriage, Tom shut her down. He told her plain and simple that he was happily married and not interested in anything she had to offer. His words were firm, but his tone was respectful. I could tell he was uncomfortable, but he didn't let it show. Lisa didn't take the hint right away. She kept pushing, trying to provoke him. But Tom didn't budge. Eventually, she left, but the damage was done. I felt this mix of relief and hurt. I was glad Tom had stood his ground, but I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, not by Tom, but by Lisa. How could someone who had been a friend of the family do something like this? That night, Tom and I sat on the couch, processing what had happened. We promised each other to always be honest and to talk things through. The experience had rattled us, but it also brought us closer together. It was a harsh reminder of how important trust is in a relationship. The next day, I knew I needed to talk to my sister-in-law, Sarah. I didn't want to start any drama, but I felt she needed to know what had happened. After all, Lisa was her friend. Maybe she could talk to her, set some boundaries. I approached Sarah carefully. I didn't want her to feel like I was attacking her or putting her in the middle. A few days later, Sarah called me. She had spoken to Lisa, and apparently it hadn't gone well. Lisa was defensive at first, denying everything, but eventually she apologized. Sarah said Lisa seemed embarrassed, but she didn't fully own up to what she had done. Sarah was livid. She told Lisa that her behavior was unacceptable and made it clear that she would not tolerate any disrespect toward her family. I could hear the anger in Sarah's voice, and it made me feel even more grateful for her support. But at the same time, I felt a little sad. I knew that Sarah and Lisa had been friends for years. They had shared so many memories, and now things would never be the same. I hated being the reason for a friendship falling apart, even if it wasn't really my fault. Still, I knew that protecting my marriage came first. And as painful as it was, I had to accept that sometimes setting boundaries means losing people along the way. Just when I thought things were settling down, I got a message from Lisa. It started off with an apology, but then took a nasty turn. She said things like, "You're not even that great of a catch. Tom probably just settled for you because he couldn't do any better." Her words cut deep. I showed the message to Tom, and he was as shocked as I was. He couldn't believe Lisa would say something so cruel. I thought about ignoring it, but I couldn't. I needed to respond, not out of anger, but to set the record straight. I sent her a message back, keeping my tone calm but firm. I told her that Tom hadn't settled for me. He had chosen me, flaws and all, because he loved me. And that was something she would never understand if she kept tearing others down, just to make herself feel better. It wasn't the most mature response, but it felt good to stand up for myself. After that, I blocked Lisa and focused on my own life. Tom and I went back to our routines, and I felt like we had finally put the whole mess behind us. The truth is, Lisa's antics had only reinforced how strong our relationship was. She had tried to come between us, but all she did was make us appreciate each other even more. Looking back, I realized that sometimes people come into your life as lessons. Lisa's actions taught me to trust my instincts and to set boundaries without guilt. It also showed me that Tom and I were truly in sync, ready to handle anything life threw at us, together. And as for Lisa, I don't really care what happened to her after that. All I know is that my marriage came out of this stronger than ever, and that's all that really matters. A few weeks passed and life started to feel normal again. My sister-in-law, Sarah, had distanced herself from Lisa, and Tom and I settled back into our routine. I thought the drama was over, until I received another message from Lisa. This time it wasn't an apology. It was a full-on attack. Her message started off with a fake apology, but it quickly turned into insults. She said things like, "You're lucky Tom settled for you. He could do so much better." She even implied that I should be grateful she showed interest in him, as if she was doing me some kind of favor. At first I was stunned. Then I was angry. How could someone be so cruel? I showed the message to Tom, and he just shook his head. He wasn't upset. If anything, he felt sorry. For her. "She's just showing her true colors," he said. And he was right. Instead of firing back, I decided to take a different approach. I wrote back, keeping my tone calm but firm. I told her that Tom hadn't settled for me. He chose me. I reminded her that real love isn't about tearing others down or chasing attention. It's about building each other up and standing strong through difficult times. I hit send and immediately blocked her. I didn't need that negativity in my life, and I wasn't going to let her ruin my peace. After that, Lisa was out of our lives for good. Sarah told me that Lisa had tried to reach out to her again, but she wasn't interested in reopening that door. Their friendship was over, and while it was sad, it was also necessary. Sarah and I grew even closer through it all, and our family felt more united than ever. Tom and I focused on each other and our kids, finding joy in the little things. We went on dates, cooked meals together, and made sure to express our love and appreciation for one another. It was like the drama with Lisa had reminded us of what really mattered. I also learned to trust my gut more. Looking back, I realized there were signs of Lisa's inappropriate behavior even before our anniversary party. I had ignored them, not wanting to seem paranoid or possessive, but now I understood the importance of setting boundaries early on. It wasn't about being controlling, it was about protecting my relationship and my peace of mind. Months went by and life moved on. Then, out of the blue, I received a letter. It was from Lisa. I hesitated before opening it, not sure if I wanted to read whatever she had to say. But curiosity got the best of me. Her letter was different. It wasn't like her previous messages. This time, she sounded genuinely remorseful. She explained that she had been going through a difficult time, struggling with feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. She admitted that seeing Tom and I so happy had made her jealous, and she had lashed out in an attempt to fill a void in her own life. She didn't ask for forgiveness, but she wanted me to know that she was seeking help and working on herself. She wished us well and said she hoped I could find it in my heart to move past the hurt she had caused. I didn't write back. I didn't feel the need to. I had already forgiven her, not for her sake, but for mine.